Survivor to me is it's a tough one. Well, first, I think surviving is getting past the situation, moving forward, getting away from it. But I also think it's a healing process that you go through afterwards, that you can sort of talk about what happened. You can move your life forward and not let it hold you back. I think that's when you turn into a survivor, is when you can really start to do the things that you want to do and not have that past hanging over you or questioning yourself in that way. I didn't until recently, because I didn't realize that my situation fell under the DV umbrella, basically. But now, reflecting on it and knowing more about what domestic violence was, I would say, yes, I do identify as a survivor. Grief is interesting because it comes and goes in waves. And then, time absolutely makes things better. But you also run into situations that you probably don't even realize that are triggering, and it brings it back up. And then you're like, wow, I thought I was past this, and you're not. So then you kind of feel set back, kind of get on yourself like, well, why haven't I moved on? But if you think about it and you know that this is going to happen, then you can tell yourself, this is just triggering. You're going to move past it. It doesn't mean it's going to set you back again. And again, just giving yourself that grace. And yes, time heals slowly, unfortunately, but it does make a difference, especially if in between you're building yourself up and telling yourself that you deserve better and that you can do better and that you're thriving. Yeah, just keeping that positivity is important. I don't think it's ever linear. And they talk about the stages of grief, and I don't think that's really an accurate depiction, because you can feel more than one feeling at a time. And it can come and go and come back. So yeah, no, I definitely think it's not straightforward linear thing that you're, oh well, I'll be past it in 5 years. No. My abuser was my child's father, and we have shared custody, so there's still many, many years of having to communicate with him, even though I would have preferred not to. It's just constantly re-triggering. And though it wasn't physical anymore, the verbal was there, and the put down and the bullying. And then I would seek support from friends and family. And they're like, well, you're not with them anymore, so just don't let it get to you. And that's really hard to do when it's an emotion, right? And your brain reacts emotionally before you can even think through things cognitively. And if you don't have the time, or you're with somebody and you're just reacting, it's hard to like set it aside. And people don't always get that, because you're not in that situation in that moment, but you are. It's really hard to have your heart and soul not understand that the person that they love so much treats you so poorly and is just tearing you down constantly. That was, oh my God, that was the hardest part of it all. Because you don't want to paint a poor picture for your child, for their other parent that they love, but you're constantly it's just re-abuse, telling you you're not worthy, you're not a good enough parent, all these things, and you can't share it with your child until they see it on their own, and then you just have to be there for them. And I couldn't say I told you so or anything like that. I just, no, it's not right what they're doing, and you deserve better, and just be the support. It's terrible that she had to see it, because she had been pretty well protected from it. But once she saw it, she made the decision not to go back. And I haven't had to have any communication since. So it also took till she was a teenager, could see it for herself. And that was hard. Having gone through that healed me as well. And again, that's 16, 17, 18 years later. And it took a couple of years of her being very angry and taking it out on me because she couldn't take it out on her dad, that I had to suck it up and take it until she was ready to really see why she was upset. It's crazy. It impacts every aspect of your life. And then those you care about at the same time. It weaves into everything. But that's hard too, because you think you've moved past it and here comes the next thing. But you can move on, and it gets easier and gets better, and being able to support other people through it is also healing. Yeah, time has definitely changed how I talk about it. I can talk about it more comfortably with less emotion. I can talk about it more with a understanding of what went on, both for the abuser and me, kind of understanding why things happened the way they did. Whereas originally it was just all raw emotions that, kind of color how you talk about it. I also can share my experience now in a, this might help you be aware, and just sort of knowing now that I've learned more about domestic violence, I can kind of put terms to what I experience, and that's healing as well. Just knowing that I wasn't alone and that wasn't an unusual experience. I trust that I have a big heart and that I'm a kind person and that I work hard, and I suffer from depression and anxiety, so there's times where I feel really low and I can't go out and I can't do different things, and then I feel really guilty, like I'm not doing things, enjoying the world. But now I'm to the point where I can tell myself it's going to be a couple of days and it's fine. If you need to stay home, if you need to cancel something that you agreed to do, then you need to do it, and then you need to move on. And it's okay, because you're taking care of yourself, and that's what matters. And let go of all those things, the guilt in between, that sometimes you're low and you need to take care of yourself, and sometimes you're not low and you're great and you can be there for other people. But also know that it goes back and forth, and it's not another linear pattern, and that when you need to give yourself grace when you do experience the ups and downs. Keep trying. I think that's one that it took a while, but I'm like, even if you do one little thing. So if all I did one day was get up and put regular clothes on and then sat on my couch and didn't leave, I at least did that. And, see that as something that you accomplished. So seeing all the little accomplishments, and then they add up to bigger ones. I think that was hard. Growing up, I was always raised, you got to work hard, and you can't get anywhere unless you do big things, but you can't just jump to a big thing. It doesn't work like that. And so, it took me a really long time, but once I started tailing my little things, I started to notice that they were achieving big things. So that's another big thing that I have reclaimed. I think social media is hard too, because I'm 40 and I still have an apartment. I'm single, and I'm like, well, other people, they went to college, then they got married, then they had kids, they have their house, and I would get down on myself that I didn't follow that path. I had my daughter at 20 and had to stop going to school and didn't finish till almost 16 years later. But now I'm like, you know what? That was my path, and I had so much to overcome that any other person in my shoes would have had to do the same thing. It would have taken just as long, and that's okay. And I'm stronger because of it. And I'm happy with where I am and where I'm headed. And so I've learned to let that go. I speak as someone who is a mother. I speak as someone who has been a teacher. I speak as someone who is an advocate. And I speak as someone who believes in resources and support and transparency and sharing with each other so that we can support each other. One thing I would tell someone who is healing from abuse is to give yourself grace, that it's an up and down process. Some days are better than others. Oftentimes you're going to react and then you're going to feel guilty about how you reacted, but it's part of what you've experienced. It's the trauma. And again, just grace. Give yourself grace. That's huge. The focus is always, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, and you got to take care of this, and you got to take care of that, and your people, but you can't do a whole lot if you're not taking care of yourself. And the brain is, it's interesting because, like, from a scientific perspective, your brain is wired differently because of trauma. And so you're going to then react differently because of trauma. And it's not your fault. Yes, it's something you have to overcome. It's something you have to work towards. It's something you have to practice and get better and try to overcome, but it's not your fault, and you deserve grace and time and, just forgiveness of yourself, because it's hard. It's just really hard. Life is hard. And there's no one right answer. And that's really hard to know when you're young and people are telling you you're doing things wrong. Yeah, there's definitely been times where I just fall apart and just react and have done stupid things and gotten myself in a deeper hole because of how I reacted. And, well, no, I'm acting this way because it's a nightmare and my life's a mess and I need help. So I just wish more people understood that. And like, okay, you're flipping out. You may be taking it out on me, but I'm still here for you because I know that deep down this isn't about me. It's about you and that you need something, I think that's where this transparency, sharing with each other is so important, because you're going to make a mistake. And you're going to have to fix it. And it sucks. But it's not the end of the world. It's not. When you're young, it feels like the end of the world, but it's not. And I've been in situations where I didn't know if I could put food on the table, if I could give my kids clothes that weren't, I don't know, go to school and have them be picked on, and just all sorts of things. And you know what? It passed. It passed. It sucked when I was in it, but it passed. So hopefully somebody in your life can hear it and sort through the messy and say, this is what I'm hearing. These are some options. And if they have the capacity to hear it, then great. If they don't, just keep being there for them. I think that's why, like, the services that Willow offers is so amazing, because they're not, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, we're just going to give you things that you need because you don't need to be worrying about that on top of everything else. You can't heal if you can't put a roof over your head or put food on the table. It piles on. So I lost my mom when I was 18, and she was my whole world. So I didn't really care about life at the time. And so that's how I ended up with somebody that took advantage. And for a while I didn't care, because what was there to live for? But then I found I was pregnant, and I was having a girl. And I did not, from deep in my soul, want her to ever have to experience what I was experiencing. That was when I said, there's got to be something better. There has to be. So that's when I started to do a little research. People had said, I think you might be suffering from depression and anxiety. And it wasn't talked about when I was growing up, but I definitely had it when I was in younger years. I didn't believe it, like, for a while. But then again, when I had somebody else to care for, then I was like, I need to take care of me. Because I also saw it impacting her, particularly anxiety. I saw her having, at a very young age, separation anxiety. And I found out that separation anxiety in children is often caused by anxiety in the parent. And that's when I knew, like, I have to take care of me. And I sought out a therapist that was life-changing. And I put in 5+ years of work trying to work through that. I did a lot of fake it until you make it, which sounds silly, but it does help, especially when you're not the only one impacted. I had to make sure that my daughter couldn't see the anxiety and turmoil in me, so that I could just be there for her. And it made a world of difference. Her anxiety lessened and mine lessened, and it took time, but people had said, here's help, here's resources. But I had to feel it on the inside before I could really, but I knew where to go because I had heard it, which is important. I think that's one thing that people should share: resources and information. Even if somebody doesn't take advantage of it, those little nuggets will stay, and they'll remember when they're ready. And then hopefully they'll get the help they need.